Hi everyone, it's Zoe here from Living with a Sleeve. I'm really excited to be back on Facebook Live. It's 2017, so Happy New Year everybody. I had a great break and then came back with a bit of a flu, so that's why I didn't get on and talk to you all last week, so apologies for that. I just give it a minute or two before we get started. This week we're going to be talking about the stage after surgery where you start to think about getting onto real food again. So usually in our clinic that's from the end of week 4, so beginning of week 5 onwards, and it is a little bit of a process. It does take a little bit of a time to get used to. So just before we dive in, while we wait for a few more people to log on, another thing I wanted to mention, there are a few things happening with Living for a Sleeve in 2017, and I'm really excited to get as much good quality information out to you as I possibly can, and for me to be as helpful as I possibly can. So what I've started doing is I've introduced a monthly newsletter just to keep you up to date with what's happening on the blog and Facebook Lives, and just sort of make sure that you know what's across everything that's coming from me. If you'd like to sign up for that, you can do that on the website. I'll post a link in the description on this Facebook Live post so you can find it easily. Also, I have on the website you can download my top 10 tips for living with a sleeve, and they really tie in well with this topic today because it is things that you need to get used to in the long term. You can also download my lunch ideas, again really useful for those of you that have a sleeve, that are getting sort of into a bit of a routine. It might help mix things up a bit, but also give you some ideas of things that you can take to work or prepare at home, but also things that you can buy when you're out, because I know that when you're out it's a pain in the bum sometimes to find options that are small enough and still healthy for you so that you feel like you're getting the nutrition you need from your food. Lastly, just before we get going, I'd really love your help. What I've put together is a little survey just for me to be able to sort of find out what you really need and what would be most helpful for me to provide to you. And if you would have 2 minutes, literally just 2 minutes, to complete their survey, I'd be so grateful. I'll put the link in the description on this page, on this post as well, just so you can find it. It's really just me finding out sort of what you'd like to learn or what you'd like to hear about, and how you'd like to receive it, whether the Facebook Lives are good, or if you'd like a podcast, the more blog posts, more frequent newsletters. So it's really just you being able to let me know what you would think would be useful. So we've got a few people on. Thank you for joining me. I'm really excited. This will be a regular event on a Wednesday. The times may change a little bit as I'm in the clinic, and just depending on who's booked in, but I will always post on the Wednesday morning and let you know what time I'll be in there, and I'll also send a reminder on Monday or Tuesday as well, just to let you know what topic we're going to talk about too. So today we're really talking about that time when you've been on purees, you're after the surgery, you're sort of trying to progress onto normal food again. So we're talking, usually for our patients, you'll come in and see me at 4 weeks post-op, and you'll see the surgeon as well, and they'll give you a little bit of a once over, make sure that they're happy with how you're progressing from a surgical point of view, and then I will sort of help you to sort of start thinking about that progression back onto normal food again. So you really should, at this stage, your stomach should be healed, but it's probably still quite tight, and you might be a bit nervous about progressing back onto more solid foods off the purees. it's really about a gradual process, and the golden rule is if it doesn't feel good going down, just stop eating it and go back to something that's worked before. You will probably know what you think will work and what might not, and that's always a good gauge. And as you go through over the next sort of 4 weeks or so, you'll gain a lot of confidence, and you should be able to eat all textures by the end of about week 8. Some people might be a little bit ahead of that, and some people might be a little bit behind that, but that's fine. That's part of the process. Everyone's a little bit different. The most important thing to think about is that you're choosing good quality foods, okay? So really focusing on getting the nutrition that you need, because the portion sizes that you're going to be able to eat are so much smaller than they used to be. So we really want good quality because the quantity isn't there, basically, okay? So once you get into a bit of a routine, once a day, like you're eating a little bit of fruit. It might not be a whole piece of fruit, it might be, you know, a plum or half an apple, a bit of a banana, a few berries. Twice a day we want you eating some vegetables, so usually that happens at lunch or dinner, and it could be veggies or salad. And 3 times a day having some sort of protein or dairy, so you know, milk, yogurt, cheese, maybe at breakfast time, and then, you know, chicken, fish, tuna, meat, eggs, tofu at lunch and dinner. A good way to think about it is to think, okay, at lunch and dinner, do I have half protein and half veg? You absolutely can have some grains. A lot of people find that certain grains that are a bit more doughy, more sticky, like fresh bread and rice and pasta, just really kind of sit a little bit heavy, and they don't feel so comfortable. So often people will stay away from that. But it's definitely, you know, absolutely 100% fine to have half a sandwich, or to have some rice or some pasta with your dinner, but the main focus really needs to be on the protein and the veggies. The only other thing to think about is your fluids, and I really want you drinking about 1.5 to 2 litres a day if you can. And I know that is tricky because you can't eat and drink at the same time, but really you need to be focusing on trying to just sip consistently throughout the day to get that amount of fluid in, okay? Just a few aside notes before we go into like the types of foods to eat. It's also important that you're onto all of your supplements, okay? So you really need a good quality multivitamin that has iron in it, or if it doesn't have iron in it, then you need to be adding an iron supplement to it. I've got a post on my page as well, a little video, but also talk to your dietitian and make sure that your vitamin supplements and mineral supplements are tailored based on your blood work. Some people need a bit more iron, they always seem to be a little bit low in iron. The next one you need to be having every day is a calcium and vitamin D supplement. Again, have a look, not all supplements are equal, so you want a calcium supplement that uses calcium citrate rather than calcium carbonate. So the brands that we often use are Swiss or Citracal, okay? They seem to be the easiest to get. And the last one that you really need every day is the fibre supplement. So you should have been taking this all the way through since surgery, but something like Benifibre, most of my patients find Benifibre easier to use than Metamucil. You can use Metamucil if you want to, but it gets a bit gluggy and it's flavoured, so you can't, sometimes it's a bit hard to drink, whereas the Benifibre is clear and it's tasteless. So you can actually just mix that into your food or into your coffee or into your tea, water, whenever it sort of fits into your day. The other thing to think about is exercise, okay? So it's really important to start building up some muscle again. Of course, as part of weight loss, you haven't just lost fat and miraculously kept your six-pack underneath. When you lose a large amount of weight, you lose some protein, some muscle as well. So it is really important to start to build that back up again. So doing some sort of strength exercise a couple of times a week is really important. It could be, it doesn't have to be you going to the gym and lifting weights. It could be something like Pilates or yoga, or even swimming is a great option. And if you struggle with mobility, or you have trouble, maybe have an injury that you can't do weight bearing exercise, then I really strongly recommend you see an exercise physiologist. They are for exercise as important as I am for food. So they will be able to look at what you can and can't do, any injuries you have, limitations, and sort of give you some exercises to help balance you out and strengthen you up again, okay? As well as the strength exercise, it's just important to move as much as you can during the day and pick whatever kind of movement you like. There is no right or wrong. You have to enjoy it, because otherwise you're not as likely to stick with it and keep going. So I don't mind. Whatever you like, just do, and whatever makes you happy. Just try not to be sitting all day, all right? So just to recap, we've spoken about overall needing some fruit once a day, twice a day veggies, and 3 times a day some protein or dairy, drinking lots of fluid, taking your supplements, and getting some exercise in. The process now, I just wanted to mention a little bit about the types of food that are easiest to start with and the types of food that are hardest to get onto. Really the easiest foods are going to be those that are still quite soft, quite moist. So things like curries, lentils, fish, things like thick sort of chunky soups, maybe some eggs, casseroles or stews with lots of veggies in them. But eventually you'll be able to eat anything. So the hardest foods to get onto are things like anything that's really sticky or really difficult to chew, okay? So bread, rice, pasta are quite doughy, quite sticky. Funnily enough, toast is much easier than bread, and that's just because you've taken the moisture out of it when you've toasted it and made it kind of crunchy instead of sticky. Other foods that are difficult to eat often are things like dried chicken and a piece of steak or a piece of meat. The key with those foods is just to take smaller mouthfuls and chew them really well. With those foods, especially like steak, that are quite difficult to chew up, the smaller the mouthful, the more easily you'll be able to get it down. And that brings me to my next point, is it doesn't matter what you're eating, it's really most important that is how you eat. And if you find that as you're getting onto solids, you'll be able to eat one thing one day and then not the next, it's probably how you've eaten and not what you've eaten. So remember when we were talking a few videos ago, and you'll probably find, if you want to scroll back through, you'll find it. It was talking about eating after a sleeve. One of the most important things is really concentrating on what you're doing. So especially when you're trying a new food over this phase, I really want you to concentrate. Serve small portions, use small plates, small bowls, teaspoon rather than a big spoon. Take small mouthfuls or cut small mouthfuls. So to start with, it might be as small as your thumbnail, okay? Half a teaspoon sort of size, maybe a 10-cent piece, maybe even a 5-cent piece to begin with. Chew your food, take your time, swallow your mouthful, put your knife and fork down before you pick it up again and then take another bite. The biggest mistakes that people make, and this doesn't have to be just in this sort of phase of surgery, but it could be any time after surgery, the biggest mistakes that they make is either that their mouthfuls are too big, they're too fast, or they've had one or two too many. Okay, so if you find that you're able to eat a food one day but not the next, chances are you've either been distracted, or you've been really hungry before, or you've got excited about trying a new food and you've eaten a little bit fast and the mouthfuls might have been a bit too big, or you've been really enjoying it and you've just taken one too many. So If you're having any troubles with that, really just go back to the basics. This is where my resource, my top 10 tips for living with a sleeve, is really handy. It's available on my website, and if you just download that, I'll put a link in there to it as well so that you can get a hold of it. But it really just helps you to focus again on how you're eating, so that it makes it more comfortable for you, okay? And remember that golden rule when you're getting onto foods, is if anything doesn't feel great going down, if it feels at all uncomfortable, if it feels like it's getting stuck, just stop. Don't drink. Often people go, oh, I'll just have a drink to wash that down, but if you've already got a piece of food stuck, it's like having a water bottle, filling it with water, and then trying to put more water in. The only place for it to go is back out. Okay, so I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. You shouldn't be regurgitating food or throwing up. Most people will do it once or twice, and then you go, oh, okay, I kind of get it. It's a bit of a learning curve. We call it negative reinforcement. It's fine if you make that mistake a couple of times, but if it's happening more regularly than that, then you really need to go back into your dietitian or your surgeon and have a chat with them, and re-evaluate how you're eating, okay? That's about it for me, from me. I haven't got any questions, but if you do have questions, just comment, even once this post is finished, and I'll get back to you on that. I've also got an FAQ on my website, like a forum, so each week I'm going to be posting a sort of a frequently asked question that I get from my clients, but you are more than welcome to go and post on there and ask me questions if you've got them. So just to recap, really the process of getting onto solids is a gradual one. Do it at your own time. If you eat something that doesn't feel great, just stop eating it and go back to something that has, and really focus on quality food. So lots of protein and veggies, a little bit of fruits and dairy, drinking lots during the day, and focusing on those eating habits, okay? Don't forget, if you'd like, I mentioned it at the top of the post, but if you've just logged in, I'm starting a monthly newsletter just to let you know what's going on with the site, so with Living with a Sleeve. So content that I've put up, so blog posts you might find interesting, the Facebook Live videos, any frequently asked questions that have come up. And if you'd like to sign up for the newsletter, you can do that at livingwithasleeve.com, and I'll pop a link in the description of this post for you. You can also download there my top 10 tips for living with a sleeve and my lunch ideas. So in the lunch ideas, there's ideas for eating, for making lunches at home or packing them and taking them to work, but also for buying out. You can follow me here on Facebook, also on Instagram. And a last favour, I'd really love to hear from you and hear what you would like to see from me. So there's a survey link that I'll pop in this post as well, and there's only a couple of questions. It will take you probably 2 minutes to complete, but I'd be so grateful, because I want to make this site and the information that I provide to you in these posts, especially, you know, the Facebook Lives, I want to cover topics that you're interested in, and I want to give you the information that you most need, to be as helpful as I possibly can. So once again, ask me questions. You can post on my Facebook, you can send me private messages. If you don't want to like the page because you're worried about other people seeing that you're liking the page, then you can sign up for the newsletter and keep abreast of everything there. And you can email me anytime as well, okay? Lovely to see you all. Thanks for logging on. It's been a pleasure. Next week I will be online again on the Wednesday. I'll just confirm the time that I'll be online on the Wednesday morning or the Tuesday before. But I look forward to chatting with you then. All right, thanks so much, guys. Bye.